Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Tottenham's summer transfer window has hit panic mode after Arsenal swooped in and hijacked their deal for Eberechi, agreeing a £68 million package with Crystal Palace. Spurs, still reeling from their failure to land Morgan Gibbs-White, are now scrambling for alternatives, with Aston Villa's Morgan Rogers emerging as a surprise £70 million target. But with Villa desperate to keep him, and just over a week left in the window, Daniel Levy and Johan Lange face a huge test to salvage what has been a chaotic summer. Aston Villa star Morgan Rogers is the latest Eberechi transfer alternative to emerge for Tottenham after Arsenal hijacked their deal and swiftly agreed a £68 million package with Crystal Palace. Following on from the Morgan Gibbs-White transfer mess, Spurs have been left embarrassed again. And even though there is just over 1 week of the summer window remaining, Daniel Levy and Johan Lange can still salvage what has been a disastrous few months. The panic stage of the window is absolutely here. And therefore, if it takes £70 million to sign him, which would be a club record fee, then so be it. The Brazil international does not solve the glaring gap in attacking midfield though, with an equally as expensive Premier League star seemingly under consideration. According to The Independent, Tottenham have made contact with intermediaries for Morgan Rogers, who will cost significantly more than Ease, but is now a priority target. Their report adds that Aston Villa don't want to sell the 23-year-old, but a bid could change things amid concerns over complying with profit and sustainability rules. Even after selling Jacob Ramsey to Newcastle United in a £43 million deal, worries over PSR continue to persist at Villa Park. But it is likely that even taking that into account, Rogers' asking price could easily be double the fee Ramsey departed for. Given the 30 goal contributions he picked up last season, his age and the 5 years remaining on his contract, a deal actually happening is extremely hard to foresee, and Football London understands there is no interest in Rogers from Spurs. Rogers, who also admirers at Chelsea, would be a statement signing for Spurs, but it is quite clear Unai Emery sees him as the future of Villa and would much rather sell other players if needs be. As evidenced by how they've handled transfer negotiations this summer, Tottenham are much more likely to make their valuation clear in talks as opposed to submitting an outright offer. It seems almost impossible that Villa would entertain either of those, considering the fact that this current trading period is nearly over and Emery has already lost one first-team attacker. The Lilywhites contest the waters, but with limited time remaining, they will be better off targeting AS Monaco star Magnis Akliouche or Leicester City's Bilal El Khanous, as they are likely to be much cheaper. And if Spurs also sign Savinho, fresh off a dramatic Super Cup heartbreak against PSG and a comfortable win over Burnley, Thomas Frank is preparing Tottenham for their toughest challenge, yet a trip to champions Manchester City. The Spurs boss has shown a willingness to adapt his system for big opponents, and Saturday's early kickoff could see him revert to a back three to blunt Pep Guardiola's free-scoring side. With Richarlison and Kudus leading the line, and Bentancur and Palhinha ready to return, Spurs may unveil a flexible, hard-hitting XE designed to frustrate the Etihad crowd. Thomas Frank faces another awkward Tottenham test this weekend when his side visit Manchester City in Saturday's early kickoff. Prior to beating Burnley last weekend, Spurs came up against Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Super Cup final and gave the Champions League holders a real scare. Tottenham looked destined to win the trophy, having led 2-0 for 85 minutes before a late fight back from the French side sparked a remarkable turnaround. Frank did have a plan in place for the cup final, and it almost paid off. That may well be the case again on Saturday, when his team travel north to the Etihad Stadium. The Dane is not a head coach who has a set formation, and he will tinker his setup and tactics accordingly to the team they face. During his time as Brentford boss last season, Frank utilised a back five when the Bees were defeated 2-1 in Manchester last September. In the return game in January, he opted for a 4-3-3 setup, as the West London club registered a late point following a 2-2 draw. Frank could choose to repeat the 4-2-3-1 formation he used in last Saturday's 3-0 win over Burnley as Richarlison hit a double, and Brennan Johnson also got in on the act. The other option would be for him to revert to the system he used in the PSG game when he went with a back three and wing-backs, with Pape Matar Sarr offering support to Richarlison and Mohamed Kudus in attack. Given City put 4 past Wolves at the weekend, and they are extremely impressive going forward, a return to the back 3 could be what the 51-year-old opts for. That would mean Kevin Danso, who would take Johnson's place from last weekend, comes in to join Christian Romero and Mickey van de Ven in the backline, with Pedro Porro and Jed Spence operating out wide. In midfield, Rodrigo Bentancur and Joao Palhinha will be leading the race to start after both dropping to the bench for the Burnley game. Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall would be the 2 players to miss out to accommodate the aforementioned pair. Sarr will be the most advanced midfield player in this setup, giving him the chance to add to the threat of Richarlison and Kudus in attack, as was the case in the Super Cup final. Here is the strongest Tottenham Inter Milan to face Man City on Saturday. Strongest Tottenham Milanese versus Man City: Vicario, Danso, Romero, Van de Ven, Porro, Bentancur, Palhinha, Sarr, Spence, Kudus, Richarlison. Tottenham Hotspur are closing in on a sensational move for Crystal Palace star Ebereki Eze, with fresh talks planned between Daniel Levy and Steve Parish to finalise the deal. Eze has made it clear he wants Champions League football under Thomas Frank, and Spurs are hoping to wrap things up in time for him to feature against Manchester City this weekend. Palace boss Oliver Glasner insists the midfielder remains his player for now, but all signs point to a farewell being just around the corner. Tottenham Hotspur are growing closer to signing Ebereki Eze from Crystal Palace, with further talks planned between the 2 clubs in order to come to a final agreement. Football.London understands. Spurs have moved for the 27-year-old England international in recent weeks, following James Maddison's anterior cruciate ligament injury, suffered in the pre-season draw with Newcastle in South Korea. With negotiations between the 2 clubs led by the 2 chairmen and co-owners Daniel Levy and Steve Parish, there is now a growing positivity that a deal's almost there to bring Eze to North London. Football. London understands that further talks are planned between Spurs and Palace to reach a final agreement with the midfielder, having informed the Eagles of his wish to join up with Thomas Frank's side and play Champions League football this season with Tottenham. Palace boss Oliver Glasner had hoped that Eze, who played in the goalless draw at Chelsea on Sunday, would be involved in his side's first European match on Thursday night as they take on Fredrikstad in the UEFA Conference League, while Spurs hope to push a deal through for Eze in time for him to play a part against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium on Saturday in the Premier League. Eze appeared to be saying a potential farewell to the Palace fans at Stamford Bridge at the weekend, in case a deal was concluded this week with Spurs. Glasner said after that draw with the Blues, "Ebereki Eze, as much as I know, has a contract with Crystal Palace. He is a Crystal Palace player. He showed it today, and as long as he is a Crystal Palace player and he performs like this, he will play for us, and nobody has told me anything else. He was picked because he is a Crystal Palace player, and he is a very good Crystal Palace player. He trained all week, so there was no reason not to pick him." The next couple of days will decide whether it is Glasner or Frank who gets their wish and has Eze in their team for their next fixture. Spirits are soaring in North London after Tottenham kicked off the Premier League season in style with a commanding 3-0 win over Burnley. Richarlison stole the spotlight with a dazzling double, Brennan Johnson sealed the victory, and now all eyes turn to the transfer market. With Ebereki Eze edging closer to a sensational move across London and talk of Savinho heating up, Thomas Frank's Spurs could soon unleash one of the league's most feared attacking lineups. Spirits are high right now in N17 after Tottenham made the perfect start to the new Premier League season. Coming up against Burnley in Thomas Frank's first league game in charge of the club, Spurs secured 3 points following a comfortable 3-0 win at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Richarlison was the star of the show with a brilliant double, and Brennan Johnson capped things off with a well-taken goal midway through the second half. Tottenham are next in action on Saturday as they travel to the Etihad Stadium to face Manchester City. The hope will be that Frank's squad has been boosted by then on the transfer front. Ebereki Eze is the name on the lips of all Tottenham fans right now as the club look to complete a deal for the Crystal Palace ace. This week could be pivotal when it comes to Eze making the move across London. If that is indeed the case, the England international could make his bow in Spurs' away game at Manchester City on Saturday lunchtime. Easy did appear to say goodbye to the Crystal Palace fans in Sunday's 0-0 draw against Chelsea, although manager Oliver Glasner did state in his post-match press conference that he expects his player to play on Thursday against Fredrikstad in the Conference League. Tottenham firstly need to strike a deal with the Eagles for their star man, and then wrap up the signing over the coming days. Savinho has been linked with a switch to Tottenham as they look to give themselves another attacking boost. The Brazilian is a player who Frank believes can light up their attack, and they would have a fearsome front four if the Man City man joins ease in moving to Spurs. A fee of £67 million has been mentioned to get a deal for Savinho over the line, which would in fact be a new club record for Tottenham in the transfer market. However, Spanish football journalist Guillem Balag has since reported that City have now decided that Savinho is to stay at the club, meaning Spurs will instead have to look for another wide option in the transfer market. Dane Scarlett still remains a Tottenham player for the time being. The striker was left out of the club's squad for the pre-season tour of Asia last month, but he has yet to secure a loan move away from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. With a number of loan deals sanctioned since Scarlett was omitted from the travelling party for Hong Kong and South Korea, Spurs must find the perfect club for the academy graduate, as it is such a big year for him. Scarlett himself requires a deal to go through ASAP because he needs to be playing week in, week out. Luka Vuskovic is also available for a loan move before the summer transfer window draws to a close. The Croat has been on the substitutes bench for Tottenham's first 2 games of the season, but has yet to take to the field for his new side. As we are now entering the final 2 weeks of the transfer window, you would expect there to be some movement soon regarding a loan move away for the teenager. Tottenham do have cover at centre-back right now, with Kevin Danso and Ben Davies options to come in if Christian Romero or Mickey van der Ven don't start. Tottenham are also in the hunt for a new centre-back this summer. Due to the amount of games that Romero and van der Ven have missed in recent seasons, Frank wants a senior centre-back added to his squad, given the hectic schedule Tottenham are going to have to deal with. A new centre-back is a requirement for Spurs in the transfer market, but their priority right now is to finalise deals for Eze and Savinho. Brian Gill was not handed a Tottenham squad number ahead of the new season, and now the Spaniard needs to find a permanent move away from the club. What could complicate matters for the winger at present is that he is working his way back to full fitness from knee surgery towards the end of last term. As it's not clear yet when exactly he will be in a position to return to action, that could possibly slow things down for Tottenham when it comes to moving him on.